Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm going to be doing a video on BRP, or hysterical itching on your arms, is what they call it. And I'm very camera shy, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to start out with showing you papers. You can take screenshots of them, however you want to do it, and I will be talking through them to keep my face off of the video as much as possible, and then I will end it with a short little tutorial on exactly what I do to eliminate the itching. This is not a cure, but this gets rid of the itching for me every single time. I've been doing it for 2 years, and I even do it for mosquito bites, unknown bites, whatever they are. And if I'm gardening and I get into something toxic and my legs start to itch, my feet, if my feet itch, my legs start to itch from something I brushed up against, it actually ended up working for anything that itches. So please give this a try. This is a condition that I consider myself a tough girl, but this condition brings me to my knees. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we'll be going on to the portion of my little video that has the papers that I'm going to give you the written instructions. Just wanted to clarify once again that I've had this for years, and I can understand if any of you have a lot of reservations about doing this. And I don't blame you, because it's so disappointing when one thing after another that you try doesn't work. Please, please give this a try. I don't know why it works. I don't know if it puts my nerves to sleep or it numbs them. All I know is it works, and I no longer feel like I'm losing my mind. There's no bloody tracks going up and down my arms, and it lasts for like 6 to 8 hours. And sometimes it just goes away, and of course something somewhere else is going to itch. I have found that in the more tender parts, like closer to the armpit, it's harder to get it to go away. And I don't know if it's because the skin is so sensitive that it's harder to put the heat and the ice on there. Please excuse, I've been waiting, actually, I've been waiting for a long time for somebody else to bring up the solution. It's not a cure, but the solution to the itching, and nobody's ever mentioned this before. They always talk about ice packs, and no one ever talks about heat. So please excuse the pauses and stumbling through the videos. I did the very best I could. When I'm doing the video showing you how to do it, I'm not in the middle of an episode, because I would not be able to keep any kind of concentration, and I would just be a crazy woman. So excuse the straight curl around my eye. I saw that. I don't dare do a retake, and trust me, it bugged me more than it would ever bug you. So okay, here we go. So first thing I do, I heat a cup of water. It's in a minute in the microwave. Excuse me, in a minute in the microwave, I dipped my temp reader in there, and it's about 150 degrees. So I dip the corner of a baby wash rag into the hot water and touch it onto my itchy skin. I just barely drag it at first, because it's super hot, and it's hard at first to expose your skin to it. It never ever scalds. I do this for 1 to 2 minutes. You have to keep doing it and get it really heated up. I think of it as bringing out the itch monsters. I don't know, it's crazy. At first, the water does feel scalding on your skin. I just barely let it touch, and then your skin, it becomes to become adjusted, like going into a sauna, a hot tub or something. If the water starts to cool down too quickly, I can reheat it for another 30 seconds. The point of it is that there's always hot water on, there's always heat on your skin. I have very thin, small wash rags. They're probably only 6 by 6. This is the best thing I could find on Amazon. Right now it's around $5. And this is the thinnest cloth. I find that when I've had to use a bigger washcloth, it absorbs a lot of the water, and you're just putting a little bit of the corner onto your skin, which you'll see in the video. And so I just get the thinnest, smallest wash rag that I can find. So after you've done the heat for 1 to 2 minutes, I found these Arctic ice cups. There's 2 of them, and I always have them in the freezer. They're always on hand. The ice lasts a long time and keeps your hands from getting cold. Now you can use a paper or a styrofoam cup, like maybe you've been to a massage therapy where they've done that. But you can fill it with water, freeze it, and then you tear off the edges. But your hands will get cold with a paper cup, and the styrofoam gets everywhere, and it's kind of a hassle. But if you have something laying around and you want to try it today, that might be a thing to do. I have gone out of town traveling where I've been able to use a coffee maker or a microwave to heat the ice up, and to heat the water up. But as far as the ice, I've just had to go down to the ice machine and get ice, and I just freeze my fingers off. But desperate situations call for desperate measures, right? I did see an individual. I did go to a hotel where there wasn't a coffee maker or a microwave, and I took the full step of getting a coffee maker. But you can get a coil that will individually heat up a coffee mug. I'm going to try that, and I don't know how hot it will heat it, if it will heat it enough, but hopefully it will. Okay, so now on to the video. Okay, so now that we are through the paperwork portion, I am going to go through what I do. Here is the cup of water, 1 cup of water at about 150 degrees. Here is my small wash rag, which I absconded from a flight, very thin. Thin seems to work better because it doesn't seem to absorb so much water out of my cup, and it keeps it very hot. Okay, so the water is very hot. This area right here, brush lightly. As you can see, I barely touch it because it is really, really hot. I'll get closer to you. It is very, very, very hot. So I just barely touch it on the area. And then I go back in, put the cup over here, just put it in there, kind of shake off the excess water, and barely, 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 barely touch. It gets to a point after, remember this is 1 to 2 minutes, and it gets to a point where I can start to gently push it, and then I'll kind of turn it to the other side. You just want to keep that really hot as much as you can handle it. Don't burn yourself. As hot as I've done this over and over again, I've never burned my skin. I've never scalded my skin. I think that my own natural defenses won't let me purposely put water that hot on my skin. It just won't allow it. So it's like a minute, minute and a half. And if this is the area, then I go into a little bit wider swath area. I don't want the little itch monsters to escape into those areas. It's just something that I do. So, and then sometimes I will wring it out and then dip a dryer end into it to get hot water, to make sure. The whole point is to keep the water extremely hot all the time, as much as you can. If my water starts to get cool, I'll put it back in the microwave for maybe 30 seconds to heat it back up again, because it needs to always feel hot on your skin. If it starts feeling warm and super comfortable, lukewarm, tepid, that's not going to cut it. You're trying to bring all the little monsters up to the surface, and this is what'll do it. As we all know, heat is a big instigator of that. Okay, so let's say we've done that for a minute to 2 minutes. I grab my towel, just dry it off, and then we're on to the next step. Hi, okay, so upon review of the heat portion of this little video, I noticed that I was so nervous speaking that I kept moving the rag around too much. So I would like to do a little clarification. I was moving the rag around like this, and what you're really aiming for is to get that deep heat penetrating into, I guess it's the nerve ends. I call it the itch monsters. I think of it as bringing the itch monsters to the surface. So however you want to think about it, you're holding it down until you feel the sting of the heated rag start to go away. Then you're reloading, and doing it again. Sometimes you can flip it over. Sometimes you can kind of open up the rag and it might do it. But you're really trying to hold it in there and get that heat, that deep heat penetrating as far down as you can. Okay, so I hope that helps. And now on to the cold. Okay, my next step is the Arctic cup. I keep this in the freezer at all times. I don't think I've ever tried this with an ice pack, you know, a cold ice pack. This is part of the extreme process of extreme therapy, extreme contrast therapy. And I just lay it right there on top of where my issue was. This is, let's say this is where the issue was, right here. And like as with the heat, I will actually go around the area some. I want to get anything. I don't want anything escaping. But mainly I push it onto there. It's cold. It's cold. It's not great, but as we all know, the itching's 1,000 times worse than this even could possibly become. So I just hold this on there. I just do this. This is all I do. It's very simple. It gets really, really cold, and I try to go longer than what I think I need. You can feel it start to numb out, and that really isn't enough. It needs to be for at least a minute. And going around, you need to get it really, really, really cold. So sometimes, and you hold yourself over sink because you can see I'm dripping and it makes a mess. Sometimes I'll be finished with it and I'll go sit down and watch TV or go do something, and I'll feel little pricks, especially in the area, the little pin pricks, and you know the feeling. And I'll start to feel that, and I'll come back in and I'll pull this back out of the freezer, and I will do this again. I'll do it for like another 30 seconds to a minute, and usually I can feel that it's warm, like I didn't do it long enough. I can feel how hot this still is. I'll come back and do this for another 30 seconds and see how that does. Then once in a great while, I would say 1 out of 50 times, 1 out of maybe 50 times, I need to do the process with the heat and this again. This rarely, rarely, rarely happens. Usually the first one knocks it out. The second one knocks it out for sure. Before I go to bed at night, I do a check. Make sure there's not even the beginning of any kind of itch, because I do not want to go to bed and start clawing at my arms in bed. So I just knock it out before I go to bed. Any hint of an itch that could be problematic throughout the night, I want to get it taken care of. I have woken up in the middle of the night, bolted straight up in bed, freaking out, just like, oh my God. And I've had to come up in the middle of the night and take care of it. It is what it is. This isn't a cure. But if something pops up in the middle of the night, I will have to come up and do this in the middle of the night. And it sucks. But it's the way it is. Please try this. Please try this. It's simple. And once you start doing it, you don't even have to think about it. And it works for me every single time for 2 years, every single time. Okay, good luck, and gee, I hope this helps at least one person out there. Thanks.